No Imam al-Hussein, there is no one like you. You're the son of Batul and the heart of Rasul. Oh Imam al-Hussein, oh Imam al-Hussein, al-Hussein, al-Hussein. Oh Imam al-Hussein, there is no one like you. You're the son of Batul and the heart of Rasul. Oh Imam al-Hussein, 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 oh Imam Al-Hussein. Al-Hussein, Al-Hussein, oh the third pure Imam. In your love we all live, and for you every time our life we will give, our life we will. Oh the third pure Imam, in your love we all live, and for you every time our life we will live, our life we will. Oh Hussein bin Ali, you were born on this day, and for that we have all come to find your pure way, come to find your courage and your strength we will never forget. Our courage and your strength we will never forget. Oh Imam al-Hussein, oh Imam al-Hussein, al-Hussein, oh Imam al-Hussein, there is no one like.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Respected viewers of Imam Hussein TV, I would like to greet you all with the warmest of Islamic greetings, and that is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before I begin, I just wanted to congratulate Imam Mahdi Ajlallahu Ta'ala Faraja, for today once again marks a very festive occasion when it comes to Islamic history, and indeed it is the birth date of none other than our fourth Imam, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. Joining us tonight once again, Sayed Hossein al Qazwini. Assalamu alaikum. Sayed, before we begin tonight's program, do you mind just sending salam to our beloved third Imam and Abul Fadl Abbas?
I would be honored.
Shukran, thank you.
Bismillah. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أخيه أبي الفضل العباس جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، خصوصا سيدي ومولاي أبو الفضل العباس عليه السلام جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
أحسنتم.
Hussein, oh the third pure Imam, in your love we all live, and for you every time our life we will give, our life we will. And oh the third pure Imam, in your love we all live, and for you every time our life we will give, our life we will. Oh Hussein bin Ali, you were born on this day, and for that we...
Welcome back, respected viewers. As you know, we are joined here tonight again by Sayed Hossein al Qazwini. Sayed Hussein, we're dedicating tonight's discussion in honor of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. And you know, what I've personally noticed is that a lot of us know a lot about Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But many of us don't know exactly how he was brought up, his birth, who was his mother. And plus, you know, I would really like for us to answer some of these questions. You know, who was Imam Zain al-Abidin's mother, and what was the story of his birth?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam was born in the year 38 after Hijrah on the 5th of Sha'ban. His father, of course, is Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and his mother is Shahr Banu. Shahr Banu, all historians agree, was a Persian woman that was brought from Iran, or from the Persian Empire, more specifically to say the Persian Empire, because Iran was only part of the Persian Empire. There were other parts as well. After the conquest of the Persian Empire, during the days of Umar ibn al-Khattab, while Umar ibn al-Khattab was in power, he had a lot of conquests. This was his main concentration, to expand the Islamic empire
His way.
his way, and how to expand it, or what to expand, which sort of Islam to promote, that's another story. But by name, he wanted to expand the Islamic territory. And one of the territories that they received and had a conquest over was the Persian Empire. It is said that the king of the Persian emperor Yazdujurd, he was the final king, obviously. He was the final emperor because the Persian empire fell after the conquest. He had 2 daughters. They brought his daughters as captives, as female slaves, basically.
Wow.
They brought them in captivity to Medina. At Medina, Umar ibn Khattab was the official head of the government at the time. He gave these 2 sisters to Imam Ali alayhi salam and to Imam Hussein. One, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi, this is one narration, of course. And these are historical events. You'll have various narrations. So one narration says, the popular narration says that Amir al-Mu'mineen married one of the sisters, the older sister, and he gave the younger sister to his son, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and her name was Shahr Banu. And of course she was a princess but taken into captivity. And from this marriage, Imam Hussein alayhi salam was granted a son, and that was Ali ibn Hussein alayhi salam. Of course, I've seen some historians that contest this opinion, and that her name was Shahr Banu, and she did come from the Persian Empire, but she was not the daughter of Yazdujurd. She was not a princess.
So just a captive.
She was just a regular woman. I've seen some historians that
And
say
Umar
this.
ibn Khattab just happened to decide to give these 2 women to Imam Ali alayhi salam and Imam Hussein.
Yes, that's how historians put it. Of course, it's not that Imam Ali was under house arrest. When Umar ibn Khattab came to power, a lot of times he would come and seek advice from Amir al-Mu'mineen. He oppressed him by keeping him away from power, but at the same time he was in need of Imam Ali. He knew that he can't run the government without the help of Imam Ali. That is why several times historians have recorded that he said, "Lawla Aliyun lahalaka Umar." If it wasn't for Ali, Umar would have perished. Some historians say that he said this over 90 times.
Really?
Over 90 times.
So 90 different occasions where Imam Ali alayhi salam saved him from.
Yes.
Interesting.
And in 90 various occasions, Umar ibn al-Khattab was in need of Imam Ali alayhi salam. They say over 90 times, Umar would seek the opinion and the counsel of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Of course, this might take us to a deeper discussion that obviously we can't get into tonight,
Yes.
and that is these expansions that took place. Obviously, the Ahlulbayt were not in power. It was others
Yes.
that were in power. Were these expansions legitimate or not? Some say they were not legitimate because the head of the government was not the Ahlulbayt.
Yes.
It wasn't the Prophet nor the Ahlulbayt. It wasn't the Prophet nor someone ordained by the Prophet. On the other hand, others say that these expansions were legitimate. Otherwise, how were these captives brought back to Medina? Why would Amir al-Mu'mineen marry such a woman? Unless she was a slave. She was brought as a slave. She was brought as a captive. Thus, there's mixed feelings, there's mixed opinions, but this is not our topic. But just to know that Imam Zain al-Abidin was born in the house of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in the year 38 after Hijrah in Medina. And yes, there's another narration says that he was born in Kufa. When Amir al-Mu'mineen moved to Kufa and made Kufa his capital,
Yeah.
he was Al-Hasan and Hussein also moved with their father to Kufa, and that's where he was buried. But most historians lean towards the Medina narration, that he was born in Medina.
Hassan, thank you very much, Sayyidina.
My pleasure.
You know, a lot of times when we want to talk about Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, we often overlook some of his characteristics and some of his akhlaq. what would you say, based off authentic narrations, was Imam Zain al-Abidin's, what were his highlights as being an Imam? Because every Imam has certain traits that they're known for.
Absolutely. Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam had a lot of wonderful traits. Of course, one of his main traits was his amount of worship and spirituality, which perhaps we'll get to that later. But some of his other traits was that he was extremely well-mannered. And all of our Imams were well-mannered. Their manners were the manners of the Quran. Aisha was once asked, how was described to us the manners of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? She said his manners were the manners of the Quran. كان خلقه القرآن. Same goes for the children of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All of them, their manners were manners of the Quran. But we see several instances in the life of Imam Zain al-Abidin that truly show his akhlaq. For example, historians, today I was reading about the life of Imam Zain al-Abidin, and I came across the story that a man came to the Imam from Bani Umayyah. He came to the Imam and he began cursing him to his face. And making accusations and so on and so forth. The Imam said two simple sentences. He didn't return the curses, he didn't fight back, he didn't retaliate. He could have if he wanted to. All he said was two sentences. He told him, if what you're saying is true, may Allah forgive me. And if what you're saying is wrong, then may Allah forgive you. Khalas. That's the best answer. And sometimes I've seen on Facebook, on Twitter, some of our youth, when they're attacked by Wahhabis or others, I see some of them, they've learned this from Imam Zain al-Abidin. I see them, they say this beautiful sentence. Okay. If what you say is true, then may Allah forgive us. If what you say is wrong, then may Allah forgive you. This is beautiful. In another case, Imam Zain al-Abidin was known for forgiveness, was for being calm. Once, the Imam was praying. During his salah, his son, Imam al-Baqir, got injured or fell in a river. Anyway, some danger fell on him. He had a female slave. Imam Zain al-Abidin had a female slave. She started calling him, Ya Ali ibn Hussein, your son is about to die. But the Imam was so concentrated on salah that he didn't pay attention. Finally, the danger was lifted. He finished the salah, the danger was lifted, the Imam was fine. This female slave came to Imam Zain al-Abidin and she said, Ma aqsa qulubakum ya Bani Hashim. You Bani Hashim have cold hearts. What kind of heart is this? Just because you're praying, you can't cut your prayer off. Your son is about to die. Of course, nothing happened to him. And Imam has strong faith in Allah. An ordinary person might have physically abused her, might have kicked her out, the Imam sets her free. The Imam immediately sets her free, returning a bad deed with a good deed. This is one. In another story, a female slave was once carrying a bucket of water for him to perform wudu. It fell on his face. Now, whether it was an accident or not an accident, most likely it was an accident. She said, the Imam lifted his face because it fell right on him. She said, وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ. She recited this verse. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظ means those who control their anger. They said, كَظَمْتُ غَيْظِي. I've controlled my anger. وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. This is all in the same verse. And those who forgive people. He said, I forgive you. وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And Allah likes good doers. He said, I free you.
SubhanAllah.
I free you. So many stories regarding his akhlaq, his generosity. Historians say that in the city of Medina, Imam Zain al-Abidin would get up in the middle of the night. He would disguise himself in a way that people wouldn't know him, and he would go to the homes of poor people and give them food. He would deliver food without letting them know who it is. And I say, subhanAllah, where are his followers to learn from him? Sometimes when I travel in Europe or the US and we go to some centers, Usually there's a fundraising night, and we see people that give and they want their names mentioned. Even if he donates $50 or $100, but his name has to be announced on the podium, and he wants a plaque. And Imam Zain al-Abidin would go door to door, and he wouldn't expect a thank you, nor recognition. They say that the moment people realized this was Zain al-Abidin was 3 days after his death, when he no longer came.
It's much like Imam Ali alayhi salam.
Much like Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. In fact, Imam Zain al-Abidin followed the footsteps of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. People didn't know that this was Zain al-Abidin until he was martyred.
You know, just saying this generosity portion of his life, I remember I was here reading a little narration about him, but I'm very murky on it, so maybe you can correct me, Sayyidina. I believe there was a man who had an advisory position in Medina, and he used to swear at Imam Zain al-Abidin and Banu Hashim, and he used to talk badly of him. Eventually this man got caught for fraud. He was taking people's money, and the governor at that time, I believe it was Walid, sentenced him to be tied up in the middle of the courtyard in a blazing heat and stuff. And Imam Zain al-Abidin actually sent one of his slaves to go free him from that position. He actually paid off his debt that he was stealing from others. And that's one of the things that the akhlaq we see in Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, that despite the man, that this person was swearing at him and calling him names, he just, for the sake of this religion, he forgave him and he freed him. And this man came towards him and he apologized. So many of us can't take that big step, and I personally, I don't think I can free a guy who was swearing at me all day and like causing mischief on me. But
see, for some people, this kind of akhlaq has to be, you have to discipline yourself, to work hard on yourself and on your nafs in order to be able to forgive and be so kind.
Yes.
For the Ahlulbayt, it came out naturally. They didn't need to discipline themselves to be this. Generosity came out from them naturally. Forgiving people, being kind to people, it just came out naturally. They didn't have to force themselves to be generous or to be kind.
Now, we also know Imam Zain al-Abidin as Imam al-Sajjad. That's one of his, is it nicknames we call
nicknames.
it? It's one of his nicknames. And we simply call him, one of his titles, forgive me. And this is one of his characteristics, because he was the person who was always in a state of sujood. He was a very spiritual imam, as we like to say. Could you tell us a bit about his spirituality before and after Imam Hussein's martyrdom?
Sure. Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam faced two dangers. Not personally, not himself, but the Muslim community at the time, they faced two dangers. One was that the Islamic nation was being exposed to Western culture because of the Roman Empire.
Yes.
And to Persian culture from the Persian Empire. And the Persians were not Muslim, obviously. Many of them were Zoroastrians,
yes, or
they were fire worshippers, or many of them were pagans. This was a danger for the Islamic community. Many of them might have been affected. Perhaps some would have reverted or abandoned Islam. This was one danger. The second danger was that Imam Zain al-Abidin noticed that people are drenched in materialism. Materialism had taken over the community. People were worried about dunya, about their wealth, about collecting lands, about gaining political positions. This was something that Imam Zain al-Abidin noticed. And he tried to address both issues, both problems. Imam Zain al-Abidin, as an imam, he had quite a good amount of time as an imam, over 30 years. Thus, this gave him a lot of time to work. As for the first danger of other cultures taking over, or the Muslim nation being affected by other cultures, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam bought a lot of slaves. And this is one of the things about Islam and slavery. When people ask, why did the Ahlulbayt have slaves? Inshallah, during this Ramadan, I plan on talking about this topic of Islam and slavery. And why was there slavery in Islam? Why didn't Islam abolish slavery? Well, one of the reasons is it's shown in the life of Imam Zain al-Abidin. Imam Zain al-Abidin bought slaves. He bought numerous slaves. However, he brought them to his house. He treated them like his own sons.
Equals, yes.
This is one. Number two, he educated them. Many of them were illiterate. They didn't know how to read and write. Imam Zayn al-Abidin taught them how to read and write.
Ahsant.
He educated them. Once they became scholars, once they were scholars, he set them free, and he sent them all across the Islamic nation.
Ahsant.
They became teachers. They became messengers. They became preachers.
So he was a very good strategist for his time.
Exactly.
Especially right after the downfall of Imam Hussein. Not the downfall, forgive me.
The martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the power of Bani Umayyah. He had to work underground.
Yes.
He was forced because of taqiyya, because of a political danger against him. He could have been killed, and eventually he was killed.
Yes.
He was martyred and he was poisoned. He had to work underground. Basically, he had a university at his house. He would educate, set them free, and it was these students that had an effect in the community. One of them was Abu Hamza al-Thimali. Abu Hamza al-Thimali, who has a dua that we shall talk about. This was one of his students, and he had a lot of other students. This was the first danger, and this is how he met the danger. The challenge, not the danger, but the challenge. The second challenge was a materialistic challenge, and the Imam he saw that the only solution to materialism was to teach people about spirituality. Combat materialism with spirituality. Spirituality will kill the materialistic emotions and tendencies in people. That's why we see that Imam Zayn al-Abidin gave the most amount of importance from the rest of the Imam, even though all the Imams have supplications and du'as.
Yes.
Imam Ali alayhi salam has du'a Kumail and du'a Sabah. Imam Hussein alayhi salam has du'a Arafah, that beautiful supplication recited in Arafat. Amazing. Personally, it's my favorite du'a. That and then du'a Abu Hamza al-Thimali. Imam al-Sadiq had supplications, Imam al-Kadhim had supplications, but Imam Zayn al-Abidin, this was his specialty.
An ocean of supplications.
Ocean of supplications. He had a Sahif al-Sajjadiyya.
Yes.
Beautiful supplications. He has al-Munajat al-Khamsata Ashar, the 15 Munajat. Very beautiful.
Whispered prayers, I believe.
The whispered prayers. Munajat al-Ta'ibin. He who wants to repent, the Imam tells him how to repent.
Yeah, it's very specific too.
Very specific, how to speak. Because we'd like to repent to Allah, but we don't know how to speak to Allah. Our knowledge is limited.
Yes.
Our knowledge is not like the Ahlulbayt. That's why we have to learn, we have to see how the Ahlulbayt speak to Allah, and we learn from them.
These are people who recognize their position in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Ahsant. And not that the Imam, even though the Imam says, "Oh Allah, forgive my sins. I wish that I was never born. I wish that my mother had never given me birth so that I would never sin." And so, of course, the Imam is saying this for us, not for himself. The Imam is infallible.
Yes.
Dua Abu Hamza. Dua Abu Hamza, those who have recited it know what sort of beauty it has. During the month of Ramadan, I associate Ramadan with Dua Abu Hamza al-Thimali. The nights of Ramadan after 2 a.m., 3 a.m. The beauty of Ramadan is seen in Dua Abu Hamza al-Thimali. The way the Imam speaks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, extremely spiritual. Extremely, it opens the heart, it opens the mind, it opens the soul, it connects a person to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You won't find better words, more spiritual words than these words found in Dua Abu Hamza al-Thimali, dictated by Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam. And the funny thing is, when we look at the other school of thought, we don't see anything comparable to the words of Imam Zayn al-Abidin. Tell me one person, just one individual from the other school of thought that can bring 3 sentences of a dua that equal 3 sentences
We'll find it.
from the supplications of Imam Zayn al-Abidin.
It's very funny you mentioned that. I have a very good friend who went to Mecca not too long ago, and he said he was reading Joshan Kabir in front of the Kaaba, and he said there was an elder local sitting next to him, and he was crying and sobbing as he was reading Dua Joshan. And at the end he said, where did you get this? I've never heard this before. He said, this is the school of Ahlulbayt and this is what we recite. He gave him the book, and he said, it just goes to show the difference in du'as in between a school of thoughts.
Ahsant. My father says that he went to Hajj in the 60s, I believe. He said, one night I was sitting reciting Dua Kumail in al-Masjid al-Nabawi, I believe, in Medina or in Mecca, I don't exactly remember. I believe it was in Medina. He said, I was reciting Dua Kumail, and it was a Thursday night. He said a man from the natives of Medina, long beard, Arabian, from the Arabian Peninsula, obviously not Shia, obviously not having anything to do with the school of thought of Ahlulbayt, yet he sat and he listened. He sat and he listened. He said, when I finished, he looked at me and he said, Kalimatu Ahlulbayt, the words of Ahlulbayt. You realize these are the words of Ahlulbayt because he's seen the words of others and how uneloquent they are. Of course, the words of Ahlulbayt will definitely stand out.
Ahsan. Thank you very much, Sayyidina, for that very short talk on the qualities of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. You know, amongst one of his accomplishments, you know, you mentioned briefly on Sayed Sajjad, the book of du'as that are so specific. Anybody in any situation can turn to the Sayed Sajjad. Alhamdulillah, it's translated, and you know they can actually read a du'a that can actually either help them spiritually or even get their du'as answered. As was mentioned, that the Imams established a means by which we can talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because they are the most eloquent in that sense. We also know that Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam is the one that established the treaties of rights, something that not many of the Imams have under their belt, and that also is called Risalat al-Huquq, I believe.
Naam.
Could you tell us a little bit about Risalat al-Huquq?
Risalat al-Huquq, or the treatise on rights, is really one of the best achievements of the Ahlulbayt. Truly a magnificent achievement. The Imam alayhi salam wrote about human rights 14 centuries ago. 14 centuries before, or 13 centuries before the United Nations called for human rights. Today we see people in the United States of America and in Europe and in the West calling for human rights, while in the United States of America, up till a few decades ago, women did not have rights. Women did not have the right to vote, yes, up until 1920. African Americans, there was segregation. They had to go to various churches and various schools, and even on buses, even on water fountains, they couldn't share it with white Americans. What rights is this? What rights is this? While Islam gave humans equal rights 14 centuries ago through the Ahlulbayt, through the Quran and through the teachings of the Ahlulbayt. We see that Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam speaks of everyone's rights. If you can think of whoever you can think of, part of the community, part of the social fabric, he talks about him and he mentions his right. He speaks, first of all, the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the right to be worshipped, the right to be recognized, the rights of your parents, your mother, your father, your son. We usually speak about the rights of parents. Well, what about the rights of your children? The right of your teacher, the right of your student, the right of your neighbor, the right of animals, the right of your body parts.
SubhanAllah.
The right of your body parts. For example, your eyes. Among its rights is that you don't let it see things that are haram or bad scenes. That is the right of your eye, not to use it in the disobedience of Allah. Your tongue, the right of your tongue is not to use it in the disobedience of Allah, to backbite or to lie. Beautiful, beautiful. Who would think of this? That even our bodily organs have rights. As I just mentioned, I was preparing a while ago a speech on slavery in Islam.
Yes.
And I was speaking, I was addressing, I was researching, and then I thought, has Islam given slaves rights or not? So I thought Imam Zain al-Abidin must have spoken about slaves in Islam and their rights. And indeed, I went and I saw a whole section, about half a page, of rights towards the slave. That the slave cannot be punished, he cannot be tortured, and that you have to realize that your slave is an amana. You're trusted with the slave, take care of him, and so on and so forth. That's something very beautiful. And I know that several converts converted to Islam. One of the reasons was the treatise on rights. They saw that this is a beautiful aspect of Islam, that Islam recognizes human rights from 14 centuries ago.
Ahsanta. You know, you mentioned something, the Risalat al-Huquq is something so original that it even specifies the right of your eyes and your ears. You know, from my perspective, I think Islam, period, you know, just the level of specificity, the specificness that it has is beyond compare. Even if we look at some of our marjas, risalas, you know, there's so much rulings on different occasions and different situations.
And
details are, it's phenomenal, you know. With that said, Sayyidina, we have about 5 to 8 minutes left on the show. Would you like to add anything else on the life of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam before we conclude?
I just wanted to talk very briefly about what happened in Karbala and his role in Karbala. Obviously, Imam Zain al-Abidin was in Karbala and he didn't fight. And the main reason why he didn't fight was because he was the only member of Ahlulbayt remaining. Yes, Imam al-Baqir was there, but Imam al-Baqir was either 2 or 3 years old.
Yes.
He would not have been able to be the Imam and lead. Yes, we do have Imams that became Imams at a young age, like Imam al-Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. He became an Imam at the age of 5, but then he went into disappearance. Imam Zain al-Abidin was the designated Imam. Thus, Imam Hussein alayhi salam made sure that he doesn't get killed and he doesn't fight. And subhanallah, Allah protected Imam Zain al-Abidin.
Through Lady Zainab.
Through
Lady Zainab, I believe.
Through Lady Zainab alayhi salam, and he was just protected. Yazid wanted to kill him several times, but he couldn't. He couldn't kill him. He didn't have the guts to kill him. And this was obviously a protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, the bitterness of Karbala remained with Imam Zain al-Abidin. They say that Imam Zain al-Abidin was never seen smiling after Karbala. A lot of times people would go and visit him, they'd find him crying. One of his companions, Abu Hamza Thimali, he says, one day I went and I saw Imam Zain al-Abidin crying many years after the death after the tragedy of Karbala. I told him, Yabna Rasulullah, isn't it enough? Isn't it enough? You've been crying all these years. Isn't it enough? He told him, Ya Abu Hamza, Yaqub lost one son, and he knew that son is alive, yet he cried until he lost his eyesight. I saw 17 family members that have no likes on the face of this earth. They were exemplary people. They have no likes on the face of this earth. I saw them being massacred in front of my own eyes. And you want my tragedy to end? How can my tragedy end? One day he stopped at a butcher shop and he saw that the butcher was about to slaughter the sheep, but he gave it water. He gave the sheep water. Told him why. Of course the Imam knew, but he wanted to hear the answer. He said, because this is an animal. How can we slaughter this animal before giving it water? The Imam looked towards Karbala and he began to cry. He said, my dear father, an animal, a sheep is slaughtered, yet they give it water first. But you're the grandson of Rasulullah. You were slaughtered next to the river, yet they didn't. For 3 days you remained thirsty and they didn't give you water. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa assalamu alayka ya Ali ibn Hussein Zain al-Abidin.
Thank you very much, Sayyidina, for that very touching story. Once again, you know, it's very hard. It's very hard just trying to imagine what Imam Zain al-Abidin went through in that 30 years. You know, it's just every time he closed his eyes, he could probably imagine his father's head on a spear, and Lady Zainab being whipped by the soldiers and getting her hijab torn off. This is a waladat and I'm about to tear up.
Unfortunately, we're happy for the births of our Ahlul Bayt, but because they are so oppressed that this oppression doesn't leave them, we always have to remember how they were oppressed.
Yes. And it's through these oppressions that, you know, the Islam was preserved, because, you know, these are the things that we grieve over and we have processions and commemorate them for, right? So this is the preservation. Anyways, we are all out of time, Sayyidina. Thank you very much for your time on tonight's show. Once again, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night,
Inshallah,
when we continue to talk about these heroes of Karbala, as we like to say. Inshallah. With that being said, dear viewers, we would like you guys to join us within the next 5 minutes, where we have Sayyid Haider al Jezani recite some beautiful poetry on the month of Sha'ban and Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. And with that being said, we would like to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of Imam Mahdi ajralahu ta'ala faraja. Allahumma ajil waliyak al-faraj وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Stay tuned in the next 5 minutes where we will be in the presence of Sayed Haider al Jezani. Thank you.
Oh, Imam al-Hussein, 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 oh Imam al-Hussein, 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 oh the third pure Imam. In your love we all live, and for you every time our life we will give, our life we will. Oh, the third pure Imam, in your love we all live, and for you every time our life we will live, our life we will. Oh, Hussein bin Ali, you were born on this day, and for that we have all come to find your pure way, come to find your courage and your strength we will never forget. Our courage and your strength we will never forget. Oh Imam al-Hussein, oh Imam al-Hussein, al-Hussein, oh Imam al-Hussein, there is no one like. You're the son of Batul. Oh Imam al-Hussein, oh Imam al-Hussein, you're the son of Batul and the heart of Rasul. Oh Imam al-Hussein, oh Imam al-Hussein, al-Hussein, oh the third pure Imam. In your love we all live, and for you every time our life we will give, our life we will. And oh the third pure Imam, in your love we all live, and for you every time our life we will give, our life we will. Oh Hussein bin Ali, you were born on this day, and for that we have all come to find your pure way, come to find your courage and your strength we will never forget. Your courage and your strength we will never forget. Oh Imam al-Hussein, oh Imam, mashallah, al-Hussein, al-Hussein, oh Imam al-Hussein, there is no one like you. You're the son of Batul and the heart of Ras. Oh Imam al-Hussein, 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 oh Imam, we have come to your door with great hope, so that you may grant.
As you know, we are joined here by Sayed Haider al Jezani. Assalamu alaikum, dear Sayyid. As you know, Sayed Haider has been gracing us with his voice for the past, I believe, 3 nights in honor of the heroes of Karbala. Once again, he has come and joined us, honored us with his presence, where he has prepared some poetry in honor of the month of Sha'ban and in honor of our 4th Imam, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. But before we begin, let's get to know dear Sayyid a bit more. Sayyid, we know you're from the UK, and we know you've recently come on the scene as a reciter. Could you tell us a little bit about what made you want to become a reciter of Ahlulbayt alayhi salam?
Well, of course, the reciters respected all the servants of Abdullah that surround me in the United Kingdom. I used to be in a small kind of group when I was younger called the Light of Guidance. This one was about maybe 11, 12. It formed of many shabab, and just from then really, I began the love for that kind of service. I mean, I've only taken it into full board since about 2 years ago. Yes. Before that, it was just like literally all sorts of khidmah. We used to, Muharram comes, we'll take like a month off work and just to work on the program and putting up everything, and alhamdulillah wa shukr. But yeah, it's been about just almost 2 years now where I've taken this full on board, and I want to make it push the message as far as I can.
And this highlights to us, just the importance of having these youth groups where you can, reach out and really see your talent and what service you can actually do for the Ahlulbayt and the Prophet.
It's very important to have your kind of circle.
Support group almost.
It's not only your support, but it's so many different ideas, because you can't always rely on your own ideas, because maybe someone else has a different opinion about it.
Okay.
So having this, having the youth around you, like the youth that I have, Shabab Rasul A'zam in London, we come up with different ideas. If I have a recitation, they'll tell me this kind of recitation, or they'll say make a poem about this sort of storyline. Like in my videos, the 2 videos that I've done previously, it's just sums about so many different ideas from the Shabab. Especially in the first one, Fatima's Pain. That one, everyone contributed, helping, making the door, making the scenery. You know, I had all my Shabab, they're always there. This is support as well. It's not only just support, really. Having those brothers around you, you have someone to be honest with you, where if you have a mistake, they'll tell you your mistake and what to improve on. If it's something that needs changing, it's good to have those Shabab around you, always. You know, it's the support, they're the backbone of khidmah at the end of the day. So, you know, we all grew up doing the same thing anyway. So, inshallah, until the day we die, we're together serving Abu Abdullah Hussein.
Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings forth such youth groups to bring forth such great reciters like yourself. You know, the English speaking world needs reciters like yourself, Sayyid Haider, and inshallah you will continue in this path. And you know what, even have your own apprentices and pupils one day and bring them to
Inshallah.
So let's see what you prepared for us tonight.
This is a small poem. It's a mix of Brother Sayed Al-Qazwini, who's
also
very familiar.
Host, my co-worker.
Sayed Al-Qazwini and Uncle Abu Shahbaz from Croydon Haidari. So I've made a mix of poems, and inshallah it goes like this. Mabruk ya mu'minin, Mabruk ya mu'minin, Mabruk. I've come to see my master. From his light Abbas takes. Where does this light come from? From his mother he takes. It came from the Kaaba, from Ali originate, instilled by our Prophet, lit by Allah's grace. Mabruk ya mu'minin, Mabruk, Mabruk ya mu'minin, Mabruk. Sajjad prostrates to Allah and praises for some time. His focus so intense, a relationship sublime. Known as a pearl of worshippers, he's one of Allah's sign. My love for him so much that it might be a crime. Mabruk ya mu'minin, Mabruk, Mabruk ya mu'minin, Mabruk. So that one's from Sayed Al-Qazwini. This one's from Uncle Abu Shahbaz from Croydon. Sajjad is the son of the best of Allah's servants. Sajjad is the purest of men against sins, a deterrent. He is so generous that except for tashahhud, la, he does not say. Love to him is deen, enmity and life is to pray. This is the son of Fatima and of Ali, from the line of our Nabi. Religions from his house. Whoever knows his God, then surely knows his Wali. In the heavens, Sajjad's Musalla. Wherever is the name Sajjad, there is a Musalla. If it was not for Sajjad, there would be no prayer.
And the heart of Rasul, O Imam al-Hussein, O Imam al-Hussein, 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 O Imam al-Hussein, there is no one like you. You're the son of Batul and the heart of Rasul, O Imam al-Hussein, O Imam al-Hussein, 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 O Imam al-Hussein, there is no one like you. You're the son of Batul and the heart of Rasul, O Imam al-Hussein, 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 O Imam al-Hussein, 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 O the third pure Imam. In your love we all live, and for you every time our life we will give, our life we will. Oh, the third pure Imam, in your love we all live, and for you every time our life we will live, our life we will. Oh, Hussein bin Ali, you were born on this day, and for that we have all come to find your pure way, come to find your courage and your strength we will never forget. Our courage and your strength we will never forget. Oh Imam al-Hussein, oh Imam al-Hussein, al-Hussein, oh Imam al-Hussein, there is